epres founder Eric Presley first discovered his talent for innovation while pursuing his Ph.D. in material science, working on everything from developing life-saving pharmaceuticals to inventing the bond-building category in hair care. Now he's created epres, the future of high-performance hair care. Powered by Presley's cutting-edge chemistry, epres is dedicated to creating scientifically advanced hair care solutions in patented professional-grade formulas that are easy to use, easier on the environment, and truly perform. All right. So, Eric, I'm so excited to have you on the pod today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We're going to get started and we're going to take it all the way back. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Start from the beginning, if you will.
The beginning, I was born 41 years ago, last week.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. And I grew up in the Midwest. So I grew up in Illinois. I went to college in Illinois. And then I moved out to Santa Barbara for graduate school. And I found a beautiful place that I wanted to stay for a long time. So I've been in Santa Barbara for almost 20 years now. And this is kind of where I started my career. So I went and did a PhD in material science, which is like applied chemistry and physics.
Okay.
So a lot of, you study and understand a lot of chemistry and physics, but you're looking at applications as opposed to fundamental science. So I have delved into fundamental science.
All right.
And then through that, I worked primarily on materials for biomedical applications. So I developed some nanoparticles for imaging heart disease in the body for my PhD, and I stayed at UC Santa Barbara after that to kind of get those materials into clinical trials.
Wow.
And then along that adventure, another colleague of mine and I developed some biodegradable materials for pharmaceutical applications. And we started looking at spinning that company out of the university and doing a pharmaceutical company. And as I got involved in entrepreneurship, I met some people in hair care that were looking at a variety of problems. And then I started in hair care as kind of, you don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of thing, as I was doing a pharmaceutical company and started doing hair care work. And the hair care work obviously is why I'm interesting in this space. But we started working on a variety of things, and very quickly repairing hair turned out to be a very interesting space. And so that was 12 years ago, the early part of that, and that's kind of where bond building started, as real repair. So we were looking at real repair. That's what I was focused on, and not just coatings and masks and stuff that wash out.
Amazing. I mean, quite a background in history, right? Did you think you'd get into beauty? Was it ever a passion point of yours?
It wasn't a passion point of mine, but it became very quickly a passion point of mine because, I looked at those other areas of research I was doing, and I did get my materials from my PhD into clinical trials.
Okay, wow.
And they did some early imaging. It's very complicated from a business standpoint to pull something like that out of the university and get a whole thing going. But we did have clinical trials, and somebody got injected with stuff I made. We found heart disease, and they were able to treat it. And similar to, what I see a lot of scientists that developed COVID treatments and stuff, where they're not really getting thanked, So I did all this work, not really thanked. Then I made some hair care products that made people's hair a bit better, and they were finding me on social media and telling me that I changed their life. And that was really pretty rewarding. And I was at a time where I was trying to think about where healthcare was going. I was changing my feeling on what I wanted to work on, because there's so much healthcare that's about prolonging life, but not necessarily about improving the quality of life.
Interesting.
And
Yep.
so I wanted to, work on improving the quality of life.
Yeah. That's
And
amazing.
so, and the beauty industry is part of that.
Yeah. No doubt. That's pretty cool. And such a good point that all of the hardworking scientists behind the scenes usually aren't the ones in the forefront, right?
Mhm.
Unfortunately. I mean, it's a complicated industry, no doubt.
Yeah,
Lots of layers.
yeah.
All right. So we want to get into it. You know, you have really changed the entire beauty industry by creating and inventing the bond building category. Do you want to dive a little bit deeper into kind of where that initial idea started from an innovation perspective?
One thing that was really shocking to me about the industry at the time when I came in was the formaldehyde wave
Right.
had started.
Okay.
And there was a lot of misunderstanding on how that worked and
Hmm.
stuff. And I wasn't meeting the scientists, I was meeting marketing people,
Yeah.
and they had everything wrong from my standpoint. So it led to going, oh, well, um, there's a lot of low hanging fruit here, though
Yeah.
there has been a lot of scientists in the space that got me looking at um, repairing hair because I wanted to compete with that formaldehyde
Yeah.
stuff that I think should be off the market. And
Hmm.
so through roundabout ways, we ended up, doing color and bleach and stuff, but the goal was to get people better hair with safer chemicals.
Okay. That was
Yeah.
quite a time, right? That all of the blowout and formaldehyde, like why did we think that
Mhm.
was a good idea? I mean, clearly we don't think it's a good idea, but
Yeah.
somebody did.
Yeah. And it's still widely used.
No, it's crazy.
It's getting banned in more places. So not here, unfortunately, but I was
Yeah.
just in Asia a couple months ago for some launches, and those countries are banning formaldehyde, and
Mhm.
some European countries are, but still a lot of Europe and North America is fine with it.
Yeah, it's wild. So,
Mm.
in the bond building and kind of that invention, how long was the process from ideation to actual product on shelves or product in hand?
I would say about 2 years, probably for
Okay.
both my first company and this company, the newest company. Yeah.
Great. So we're going to get to your newest company, epres, a bit later. But how have you seen, over the last 10 years, this bond building category grow, knowing that it was your
Hmm.
brainchild, and knowing that we're seeing a lot of growth in that category? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's been a lot of bond building companies, and
Hmm.
most of them have failed. So, there's real technology that works, and there's people that copycat and market, in creative ways to try to suggest that they're doing the same thing, and then the consumer over time sees that that's not really true, and so some of
Mm,
them fade away, and the category continues to grow. So you have new ones that come in and try to do the same thing,
yeah.
and so to me it's interesting because the category has gotten a lot more interesting to business people in the last 3 years, and there's newer brands, and the newer people in it don't realize that there's 100 plus brands that have all died in the category,
Fair.
and
Yeah.
are trying to do the same things that those brands did. So
Hmm.
it's interesting to see people, like, history repeat itself already
Yeah.
in the short period of time. um and and then there's been hiccups for the category to grow. There's
Hmm.
confusion because of these other brands. So there's a lot of confusion that needs to be clarified. There's it's a very interesting category and how it's grown and changed over
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah.
For sure. What type of innovation do you see in the category that's coming in the future beyond just new products, but even more so chemical wise?
I'm hoping that to lead the way into cleaner chemicals and,
Okay.
and safer chemicals. So a big part of what we're doing with the Prey is every ingredient that I'm using is biodegradable,
Okay.
which is very unique to the hair care space as a whole.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of stuff can go. And hopefully we can show that you can have quality products and be green. Because I think
Yeah.
that's the current state of the beauty industry is you can have quality ingredients or you can have green ingredients, and
Yeah.
they can be together. And I think that's a future. I think there will be hopefully some new things that people can do that they haven't been able to do before.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk a little bit about epres. Founded officially in 2022. When
Mm-hmm.
did you start the brand? And when did you think, okay, we're going to come to the table and do this different, do it better in a variety of ways?
Yeah. So I started working on it during kind of like, I don't know when people call lockdown ended, but during COVID lockdown, I
Mhm.
had a lot of time. So I sold out of the first brand. My plan at the time was to travel with my wife, girlfriend at the time, who's a singer-songwriter.
Cool.
I was going to follow her career around and decide where I want to go next in my career.
Okay.
And COVID said, no, you don't get to travel. You're sitting
Yeah.
in this place. And if you keep playing video games, you're going to be single. So find something else to do with your
Yeah.
time. And I started thinking, I just had, for me, it was, I'm an introvert a lot. So that time was pretty easy. I was sitting there
Mhm.
just with time to think and financially stable, so I wasn't stressing out about stuff. And so I
Yeah.
was just a really creative time frame. And I started to just do experiments, not
Yeah.
with a necessary end goal, but because I had questions that I didn't know the answer to. So I started, buying chemicals, buying, lab stuff off of Amazon. I couldn't get paper towels, which are helpful to my experiments, but I could get the rest of the lab, the next
Wow.
day. And started experimenting. And then, I like to patent work when I know it's good. So I
Yeah.
started filing patents when I saw very good results. And I worked on those patents and worked on the technology for about a year, kind of deciding what I wanted to do. Um, because I really love this industry, but there's difficulties in this industry,
Hmm.
a lot of headaches that you have to deal with once you're live, whether it's um, all sorts of stuff,
Yeah.
and so I was like, do I want to go deal with those headaches? Uh, and then I decided I had to because I really believed in the technology, and decided, okay, if I'm going to do it again, why am I doing it again? And
Yeah.
and for me at that time, everyone's wearing a mask. I'm going in the grocery store. I live in a more elderly community. So I'm seeing all these people with old hair in
Yeah.
their masks, and I'm just seeing all this bad hair. And to me, the mission felt unaccomplished. So my goal was,
Hmm.
I need, if there's great technology and people aren't using it,
Hmm.
why aren't they using it? And if I have a new great technology, I have to solve all those questions of why people aren't using the technology.
Yeah.
And
That's
so we
cool.
spent a lot of time thinking about that.
Oh.
And then I started building a team. And then it took, you know, I was able to build a very experienced team pretty
Mhm.
quickly. Um, and I thought, okay, we're going to launch this thing faster than launched in the past. And then all the COVID supply chain stuff
Got it.
changed that. So it's like, you want to order some bottles and it's like 6 months.
Yeah.
You go. Cardboard, 6 months. It just was pretty shocking time
Yeah.
to launch a business. But yeah, really focused on why somebody wouldn't use bond repair technology and solve for every part of it. And to me, some of it's time, right?
Okay.
You don't want time, you don't want multiple steps, you don't want to have the option of using it wrong,
Sure.
because I describe this as the next generation of technology. And when we look at our phones or other areas of technology, the performance always goes up, and we of
Yeah.
course work on that, but you want it to look better. You want it to be easier to use. You want when you hold up the new phone, you want to know that it's better than the old one
Yeah.
without them telling you that it's a 4 gigahertz processor and X RAM or
Yeah.
whatever. You just want to know, right?
Yeah.
And so you work on all those spots for people to just kind of know when they use it.
What were some of those answers and some of the things that you need to know about the brand that you solved for this next gen of technology?
For the beauty professional, one of the big advantages were acid free. So
Okay.
the first generation products of bond building are acidic, copycats are acidic, non-working
Okay.
ones are acidic, where they just said, hey, we also have an acid and we're throwing it in there.
Got
And the
it.
problem with acid for the professional is your color, your bleach, the majority of your professional services are high pH. And if you add too much acid in, you lower the pH, which slows them down because they were designed
Okay.
to run at that pH, and you now change it to a lower pH, and now they're moving slower.
Okay.
And that's something that hairdressers talk about as a need to bump developer, or it's taking too long for the client to be in the chair.
Okay.
And these are reasons that the professional might not use it.
Okay.
And most damage occurs from those processes, whether it's bleach or color. I
Mm-hmm.
talked about the elderly community that I live in. They're going and getting their hair colored every 2 to 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
that
sure.
damage from color is like
Sure.
really building up.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were having repair in every service, then they'd be in a better spot. So it's got to be, something where there's no risk to the service.
Yeah.
And no risk, even if you mess up your measurements, right? Because not everyone's going to go in there. Everyone's told that you got to have a balance and you got to weigh it, and you don't know. When have you been in a salon and see somebody weigh something? It doesn't
Yeah.
happen.
Not off the top of my head. I can't think of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And it's supposed to have happened every time you were there. So
Yeah.
it's not,
Fair.
that's not the real world. And so you have to adapt the technology to the real world and
Okay.
not make the real world become scientists or technicians, right?
Right. So let's talk a little bit, and I think you're gonna be great at this, of course. Let's get into the nitty-gritty about the science behind it. So in
Mm-hmm.
layman's terms, talk to me about how this builds bonds, how it is the next generation of this category.
Yeah. So I think of hair a little different than other people like to. So my background training is polymer science,
Mhm.
and I think of hair as a big polymer hydrogel. So it swells with water or with
Okay.
other solvents, and it's cross-linked polymer chains. The polymers are the keratin,
Okay.
and they're really kind of tangled up like spaghetti.
Okay.
And when you see people like to simplify the drawings and put them all in like a perfect line,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work. You wouldn't get stretch or bending if everything was laid out in a line next to each other. You need that 3D network to get the flexibility and the twisting. And the thing that really holds all those chains together are disulfide bonds. So the
Okay.
cysteine amino acid allows the nature to put those two chains together, and there's you know billions of these bonds in your hair.
Okay.
So all through your hair, this is holding all the keratin together.
Okay.
And when you have chemical damage, your or heat or variety of methods, these chemical bonds are weaker than those
Okay.
keratin backbone bonds, so they break first.
Okay.
And so that's where your first sign of breakage is. So that's where we go in to fix. So we repair those bonds and fix them back the way they were.
Got it.
And so if you do that, then you don't lose keratin. So a lot of people like to do protein treatments, and what you're having is all those disulfide bonds broke in a section, the
Okay.
keratin washed away, and now you're trying to patch keratin in.
Okay.
With protein treatment, if you repair those bonds all the time, you're doing treatments, you're putting in your service, then you don't lose that keratin, and you're in a good spot, and we can put those bonds back together. So that's really what we're focusing on.
Okay.
And so we're not putting something additional on your hair that could stiffen it up, because when you put a
Okay.
coating on your hair, that can get you something stiffer over time.
Okay. So
Mhm.
in that regard, why is your brand different than others out there on the market? What piece have you solved? Are the other brands just putting a coating on in layman's terms
So
or
most are putting a coating on.
okay.
There are a couple, like my past technology that does work. Big advantage that we have is we're the acid-free part. Um, our active molecules are liquid, so we
Okay.
use them as the solvent. So we're maximum concentration. So we're more concentrated than
I
anybody else
see.
can be because their first ingredient is water. So there's always
Mm,
they're always significantly diluted. So we can get a higher concentration, and a higher
okay.
concentration leads to more repair.
Okay.
So that's how we get more repair in one step, whether it's a professional or at home. And then the liquid molecules give us a big advantage for the consumer product that
Okay.
we spray and leave in. Um, when you have a liquid, that one we do dilute with water.
Okay.
Easier to get it around the hair. The excess water can evaporate, and then those liquid molecules are still liquid, so they can
Mm,
move around, and you can get a boost in your repair by leaving it in overnight. If you have a solid molecule, which most hair care products use, when the water evaporates, they return to being a solid, and they
uh-huh.
don't move around, so
Oh, interesting.
they can't do anything because they're just sitting there,
Okay.
you know. So
Interesting.
that's a big advantage that we have to actually tell people, hey, you can leave this in as long as you want because it's
Hmm.
going to continue to do repair.
And that goes back to one of the original things you wanted to solve is why isn't everyone using this? And time
Yeah,
was one of those, right? You're like, I
yeah,
don't want to leave it on. I want to get in and out. I don't want to sit
yeah.
here for X amount of minutes.
Hmm.
What else does the technology solve back to your
Well,
initial
one thing
feelings?
with the concentration, to your point about not wanting to do it, being really concentrated, you don't have to wash your hair beforehand. Because if
Okay.
we're really concentrated, we can get around, the products that you already have in your hair, the dirt, the oil that from your
Interesting.
scalp. So a lot of people are saying, oh, you got to do our treatment, but you need to do a clarifying
For
shampoo and
sure.
then dry it and then the thing. And you go, well, our product's only 10 minutes, but here are these 5 steps you have to use
Right.
beforehand. Well, those 5 steps aren't zero time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, that's one of the reasons I'm guilty. I don't
yeah.
always do it because I'm like, shoot.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting solve. Talk to me about the professional treatment versus the consumer. You talked a little bit about the concentration levels, but if I'm a stylist listening saying, why should I
Mhm.
use epres? Give me the sales pitch.
Well, they're both the same base technology, but you're
Okay.
using them in different ways as a hairstylist. So with the stylist, you're diluting the technology with your water-based service, whether it's
Okay.
the bleach, the color, toner, relaxer. They're all water-based, so you're diluting with water. The
Okay.
consumer product is we're using the same technology, but we're just diluting with water, whether it's out of your tap or a bottle or whatever you want to use, and you're doing the treatment, on just your hair. And you can do that in a salon as well.
Okay.
And you don't have to necessarily, as a stylist, use the spray. You could use an applicator bottle, doing something at the back bar.
Okay.
Um, but the real difference is, it's just so much faster for the professional
Mhm.
as well, and it doesn't add any time. So the goal is not just preventing your client from having breakage, but having them actually leave with better hair.
Yeah.
So you can do things like just a toner treatment, get your client to come back in between services, put in their toner, do a quick 10-minute
Mm,
treatment, they're back out. You want to use it in all services. So if you're doing the balayage, for
mhm.
example, you of course would put it in your bleach, but you have the hair that you didn't put the bleach on. If you're going to
Sure.
tone it, you put it in the toner and then you treat the whole head at that time without additional steps.
Interesting.
The spray bottle can be useful in the salon for, describe that elderly client that's coming in for a root touch up every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're gonna, want to put the product in their color and do the roots, but you could then take the spray bottle and spray all the ends and treat the
I see.
ends while their color is processing
Huh.
and send them out that way. And that
Interesting.
client's probably not going to do a treatment at home themselves because they're probably not washing their hair as much. They're coming into the salon to get their hair washed. So maybe, they're going to want to do everything in the salon.
And are you seeing visible results the first time? Like very
Yes.
noticeable A/B
Yeah.
test, you can tell.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean, I don't want to sell anything that doesn't have results on the first step, because if they don't see it consumer doesn't see results on the first step, then they're not going to do the second or the third step. If it's a building technology, you really need to have them go, oh, great, after one step.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit about, increasing revenue. So one of the things at TheTease that we're really kind of on a soapbox about is elevating the salon pro. And a lot of that can come with revenue, the perception of, earnings. Talk to me about how the brand can help their clients and increase their revenue.
Yeah. So one thing I think we do better than other bond repair is with no added time.
Okay.
And since we perform better than them, you could charge the same price, but that's not, in my opinion, best for your actual end wallet. So I'm not charging more than the competitors, because I have only the one bottle and I can compete and offer a better price to the salon.
Okay.
And my goal is every service. So you take it and you put it in every service, and I know this is a public channel, so I'm not going to give the professional price out, but it's extremely affordable, right?
Okay.
The price.
Yeah.
It's extremely affordable. To where it's almost doesn't cost too much. If they put it in every client and they only charge, say, $10 or $5 if you're in a spot that can only afford that. Well, if you do 5 clients in a day with color service and you did $10 add-on, then you made $50 that day.
Yeah.
And you work 5 days a week, you make $250 a week. Yep. You can make it over $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
By putting in at every service,
right.
and not being greedy. Now, if you were going to charge $50, let's say, because it's as good as the other treatment that you charge $50, well, it's hard to get that many clients to sign up for.
Yeah, true.
And you're gonna put out work that's not as good, because not everyone's getting the best hair, which is going to affect your ability to get more clients. Right? If everyone's leaving with better hair, you're going to get more clients. And if you have it in every service at a lower price, you're going to actually make more money.
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, pretty simple math, right? That it sounds like a huge benefit. We're always trying to increase our ticket price and our wallet, like you said.
And you could just up all your prices and put it in there, but sometimes you want to explain to your client, maybe it's mandatory, but it's a mandatory $10.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And then you can have it as a line item. You can see, that you really are making money using the technology, as opposed to if you just upped all your prices, you might not see that and understand it and leaving it. And then, you can then sell them the consumer. And
that's what my next question was. What about retailing? You recommending that as well? Salon?
We're recommending that as well. Yeah, because we recommend the treatment as weekly. So one thing that being concentrated allows us to do is we sell concentrates. We sell a kit to get started, but then we sell concentrates here.
Cute.
And so you get them started, and then when they're back in, they're just buying this because this will get them between salon visits, even doing weekly treatments.
Okay.
And that's easy to put in the purse. You're not trying to sell them a whole Friday products. And then that keeps their hair in a great spot. So first, competition, one thing I saw in the category is everyone's selling just a little bit of product. And this is a little bit of product, but when it's mixed up, it's 300 mLs. It's a lot of product.
Yeah.
So you can be doing a lot of treatments. You can, you tell your friend about it. Well, you don't have to just tell them. You can treat your friend and let them experience it.
Yeah.
And so when you have a lot of product, you can be doing the regular treatments without it, not waiting for the damage to build up.
Yep.
And keeping your hair in a great spot. So the analogy I give to skincare is you don't wait for zits to build up on your before you start washing your face and treating your face, right? So with your hair, you should be doing the same thing. You should be treating it and not waiting it for the damage to build up to do a treatment.
Yeah, great point.
And so we're providing the volume to do that.
Wonderful. Talk to me a little bit about the name of the brand and then also the process from a branding perspective. I mean, it's very, very well done, spot on. Certainly an elevation of the category. Walk me through that process of building the brand, if you will.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I thought why people weren't using bonding technology is because the products are ugly.
Okay.
Across the board. And you know, when I started in the category, I hadn't spent a lot of time in salons other than getting my haircut. And I spent a lot of time in salons, and people, you know, it's their family business, and they invest a lot into it, and they put a lot of time into making it look good. And if you want to have the best placement in that salon, you need to be attractive.
Yep.
The only, you know, products that have that good placements are like your Oribe's that are attractive. Whether or not people like the product, it's there because it looks good, right? And you know, if you're going to perform, you need to look good. And then, you know, we took our time on that. You know, wanted the brand, you know, to live for a long time, so we wanted timeless aesthetic. And some of that came influenced from the south of France, where some of my wife's family's from, and we spend some time and look at, you know, the French brands that have been around for, you know, 50 to 100 years, and aesthetics that they use that people still like. So we did that part of it. You know, we didn't want to be a Dr. Presley brand, so that was like an eliminated name. And so we started playing around with that. So we came up with a Prey as a play on my name, being Eric Presley.
Yeah, it's cool.
Took probably as much time as developing the products.
For sure. I mean,
it was surprising because once you like find it, you're like, oh, duh.
Yeah. It's smart. I love it. It's really great.
Yeah. And with all of that, you know, every new company has to fight. If you're going to get a web page and you're getting all this stuff, you have to fight with everything that's coming out. So all that part's hard. So
easier on the trademark process too, right? With a made up name, if you will.
Yeah. It is definitely helpful, but you know, that part gets harder and harder now too, because there's all this stuff that people come up with, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Tell me what is next for the brand. Anything big that you can share with us?
I can't share anything, but we do have new products coming next year, and either later next year or into the next year. So we have a product pipeline. I'm excited about it.
Great.
It's a big part of the way we structured the company so that I can still be working on products myself. You know, I obviously have, you know, time to talk to you and to, you know, launch the brand in different countries, but we structured the company so, you know, I have time to be creative and be working in the lab.
Yeah, I can imagine you've got a couple things up your sleeve.
Yeah. I mean, new stuff is still happening. I have a backlog of technology from that early COVID time.
Wow.
Because to me, the product pipeline, I'm taking cues from the music industry that my wife's in and how that's changed.
Interesting.
Because, you know, if you went back 20 years in the music industry, you released an album, and it didn't matter. You could have 2 songs on there that everyone listened to, and you could have 9 songs that nobody listened to, but then everyone buys the album.
Yeah.
And same thing with beauty brands. You come out with 11 products. Well, your retail, your salon, they have to buy all 11 products, but they're really only selling 2 of them. And you do that. Well, now in the music industry, they're with the streaming, they're going straight to the singles and getting them out, because you're not buying an album. So those 9 songs that nobody listened to, well, those are just 9 songs that nobody listened to. So you put the hits out, and same thing with, beauty, is you focus on putting out the hits, because then you can get more, you're being more responsible about what you're doing,
Yeah.
because you're not selling products that nobody wants, and you can reach a broader audience that way.
Yeah, amazing. I like the parallels. Very smart. Can you tell all of our salon pros and prosumers that are listening where they can find the brand? Where can they check you out?
We are in a variety of places. So we
Okay.
have our own .com for professionals. We have local distribution throughout the country as well, that also have their beauty, their own websites as well. So there's reps, and they're different in all parts of the country. And we will have more retailers in the future.
Great.
Can't talk about that yet, but we're expanding. And then if there's listeners overseas, we are in Western Europe now with the distributor in each country there of Western Europe.
Wow.
And then we are in Southeast Asia and Australia and New Zealand.
Wow. And more global expansion coming, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, we're going slowly. Really building the trust, because diversion is a really important one of those headaches that I talked about. Not whether or not I want to get back into the space. And so our strategy is to choose people we trust.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're lucky enough to have the connections to know these people through either myself or through colleagues that I built this great team with at the start that are very experienced. So we had trusted people to get started in these areas. And that's why we chose those areas as well. And that's, we're not yet in areas that are known for diversion, countries and stuff.
Yeah.
With that. So the goal is maybe we don't go into those countries for a while, because the great market's strong there. And then it affects these countries that are doing a clean job. Well, now they have the dirty product coming in from another country. And so, we have countries that we're happy with. We have a few more that we'll do early next year. But, we're kind of going controlled in that manner.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to share with our listeners before we get to a little something we call the Tease Quick Takes, where we're going to talk a little bit about you versus the products.
Okay.
All right.
Easier, better, faster. More money in your wallet, better hair for your client, leaving the salon every time.
I love it.
That's really what it's about. And, being responsible for the planet is something that, knowing that we're a performer in this category, we know we're going to perform. So being thoughtful on the forefront about our impact is something that we think about. And we know it's important to a lot of people. And part of the goal is why we did biodegradable ingredients is it's just a green thing that you use, and you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's when you think about, okay, it's recycled packaging, everyone's got that. We have that. But when they go into your bathroom, most people don't have a recycling can in their bathroom.
Yeah, true.
So it ends up going in the trash anyway in a lot of homes. So, and then, or if you don't use all the product because it's not good, well, then that also goes into the trash. So just making sure you have a good product is a way to be greener and make sure the whole bottle gets used.
Great point. Yeah. Wonderful. All right. Now we're going to move into a couple questions that I have for you called the Tease Quick Takes. So the first one is, what was the first ever product that you owned? A beauty product or hair product? Do you remember the bottle?
That I owned myself?
Yeah. Yes.
Probably the earliest one that I remember was probably like, the big Tresemme shampoo and conditioner bottles. Because even when I was living in rural Illinois, I would use shampoo and conditioner, which is not normal for like a teenage boy, but I had a
Yeah,
sister, and
it
we're
was
using the
there.
same shower, and I'm there, and I would do it. Yeah.
All right. I love the trust me. I'm still waiting for somebody to come up with the Aussie, the purple kangaroo, right?
That
Remember
was
that
not in
one?
Illinois in the 90s. So at
No, it
least the part
wasn't.
that
All
I
right.
was. Yeah.
Well, I grew up in rural Iowa, but my mom was a
Okay.
hairdresser. So we only ever had the Salon Pro goods in our shower.
Okay. Yeah. So I was on Illinois side of the Quad Cities
Oh,
then, if you
okay.
knew. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
was North Central Iowa. So,
Okay.
that Midwest nice carries through,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I am not very superstitious.
Okay.
It's maybe the hard part of my science brain. Yeah.
You're predictive. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe that there's not unknown stuff. To me,
Uh-huh.
there's a lot of unknown, and that's okay. And that's what
Okay.
part of what science is trying to like understand it, and then accepting that there's so much that there's just a lot of stuff we're just not going to know.
Yeah.
That's
Good
okay.
point.
It's
I like
okay.
it.
Like we're not meant to know everything, or we don't have enough time to know everything. That's okay.
We're just going to live with it. What we
Yeah,
know
live
is
with
what
it.
we know.
Yeah.
All right. Who would play you in a biopic of your life? Who is going to be the actor?
I don't know. They gotta be around my age, probably.
No, you
Really?
can pick anyone. I mean, if it's Bieber, you can go there. I'm just kidding.
No, no, I don't. The guy from The Hangover that's also in the
Yeah. Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
That's a good one. He's
Yeah,
okay. And in The Star is Born. Okay, I can see it.
yeah. Star is Born. I can't sing, but they can create a
He can
freedom in the
sing.
biopic. Yeah.
All right. What do you consider the ultimate comfort food?
I really love
Come.
fried chicken.
Okay.
That's pretty quick to go there. Yeah.
I was gonna see if there was gonna be a Midwest like meatloaf or something.
I mean, I know of a few places that had
Okay.
really good fried chicken in the Quad Cities. So that's
It's
one place near
home.
where my dad worked. Yeah.
All
So
right. All right. Last
yeah.
one. Say you are on a deserted island and can only bring 3 beauty products with you. What are you bringing?
Sunscreen for
Yes.
sure. Maybe 2 sunscreens
Oh,
if I'm
okay.
on a deserted island. And then I would probably bring a shampoo bar
Okay.
because that could do all the cleaning.
Okay.
Because if it's good enough to clean your hair, it can clean the rest of your body.
All right. Got
Yeah.
it. Pretty
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Well, this was a joy. So
Yeah.
fun kind of peeking into your brain to understand, I mean,
Hmm.
first, how you disrupted the entire hair care industry and continue to with your new brand. So, congratulations on
Yeah.
all
Thank
your
you.
incredible success. And it was great to chat.
Hmm. Great. Thank you. It was a lot of fun for me as well.